Hello and welcome to Level Up IAS and welcome back to 10-minute series. Today we are back with another important topic, that is Gandhiji's take on education. Now this is a topic in which you can expect questions both from your prelims as well as mains. So I have given you one mains question to attempt. You can write this answer in the comment section and we will evaluate your answers. Similarly, I have given you one MCQ. Give me the answer of this in the comment section. So we'll start with the video now. Gandhiji's view on British education. Mahatma Gandhi, during his famous speech at Chatham House in 1931, exposed the ill effects of British education on India. Now see, this event of Gandhiji's speech in Chatham House in itself a very important event. They can give you in MCQs like I have given you. Mahatma Gandhi's speech at Chatham House, I have given you as an event to arrange it chronologically. So this can be asked in your exam as well. So that is why it is important. Now see what Gandhiji's views were. In Gandhi's view, a significant social dimension of the British system of education was that it tended to subdue the innovation and intelligence of those receiving it. Okay, Gandhiji quoted, "The result has been that we function like blotting paper before Western civilization. Instead of imbibing the best from it, we have become its superficial imitators." Okay. Now see, Gandhiji also said, "I say without fear of my figures being challenged successfully that today India is more illiterate than it was 50 or 100 years ago. And so is Burma. Because the British administrators, when they came to India, instead of taking hold of things as they were, they began to root them out." Okay. Now see another thing. Now, Wardha system of basic education, 1935. You have to remember the chronology. It provided for free and compulsory education in mother tongue. Now see, this is very important. It emphasized on mother tongue and not on English language. So this is important. This was thought to create a classless society free from any form of exploitation, either social or economic. Okay. Now there is a very beautiful concept given by Gandhiji called Nai Talim. Okay. In 1937, Mahatma Gandhi seeded an important idea to revamp the education system at a conference in Wardha through Nai Talim. Okay, there were two basic objectives of Nai Talim. One was Gramin Vikas and another was to bring a just society. Correct? Now, how do we achieve Gramin Vikas? He said, lakhs of villages in India were in pathetic condition. Problems such as uncleanliness, poverty, lack of resources, unemployment, illiteracy, and superstitious beliefs, inequality, and casteism were prevalent. Gandhiji thought through Nai Talim, youth will be trained to become revolutionary change in rural India. Such generation will not be dependent on anybody, but they will be independent and work for the welfare of the society. Now, through welfare of the society, he planned to achieve Gramin Vikas. Okay. Now, bring a just society. What do we mean by just society? Everyone is equal. That is a democratic society. What he said was no discrimination between persons doing intellectual work or manual work, no religious caste differences, no differentiation based on language, class, caste, etc. Hence, he insisted on local handicraft with education. Okay. So, what were the two objectives of Nai Talim? It was Gramin Vikas and bringing a just society. Now, see, we are talking about Nai Talim. So, what do we actually mean by Nai Talim? What is Gandhiji's notion of Nai Talim? For Gandhiji, Nai Talim was the expression of the principle of non-violence in the educational sphere. Okay, he said it has four principles. First, education or learning in mother tongue along with handicraft work. He also emphasized on mother tongue. Correct? Second thing is work should be linked with most useful vocational needs of the locality. Okay. Now the third point is interlinking the first and second, that is learning should be linked with vocational work. And the last point is work should be socially useful and productive, needed for living. Okay. Now these were the four basic principles associated with Nai Talim of Gandhiji. Now let's look further. This approach of Nai Talim, it was basically work-centric education with technology accessible locally. That is, the technology that you need are accessible locally and you don't need to move out for that. Okay. This Nai Talim is also known as Bunyadi Shikshan. Bunyadi Shikshan is also, in English you will call as foundation of education or basic education. Okay. The main tools of Nai Talim were handicrafts, art and drawing. More focus was on skills, and it proved without books one can teach all subjects. That is, there is no requirement of books for you to teach. You can do that without even having books. All crafts were considered equal. That is, anybody doing any craft work, they are all equal. There is no distinction between them. With this, we will achieve dignity to labor. Correct? And he was of the opinion that literacy and education are two different things. That is, literacy in itself does not mean education. They are two different things. Correct? And he was against this style of mugging up, what we call as ratification. He was strictly against this. He said, stuffing off all kinds of information in the minds of children does not mean that the children are getting education. They are just cramming things up, and it is not, you're not educating them. Okay, so mugging up information and education are different. Literacy and education are different. Now see, Gandhiji was very much in favor of promoting Hindi language as national language. Why so? Because before joining the freedom movement, Gandhiji travelled all across India and found Hindi is the only language that can connect the whole country. That is why he talked about making Hindi the national language, and he linked the entire national movement with Hindi language. On March 29, 1980, he chaired the 8th Hindi Sahitya Sammelan in Indore. During this time, at a public address, he had for the first time called for Hindi to be given the status of the country's national language. Okay, so this in itself is an important event, that in 1918, he for the first time emphasized that Hindi should be given the status of the country's national language. Okay, now see, there is another important personality called Kaka Kalekar. Okay, so in 1935, Kaka Kalekar, he became member of Rashtriya Shala Samiti, a committee whose objective was to popularize Hindustani language as the national language of India. Okay, so there was a lot of emphasis given on Hindi language. This is important. Okay, now Rashtriya Shala. What do we mean by Rashtriya Shala? Gandhiji set up a series of institutes in the country on the pattern of Nai Talim introduced by him. Okay, so commissioned in 1921 by Mahatma Gandhi, Rashtriya Shala is a learning center started with a purpose to impart new national concepts, and it is closely associated with the non-cooperation movement, which is one of the most important segments of the Indian freedom movement. We all know that. See, there are two important things here. Influenced by Gandhi, Kaka Kalekar and Vinoda Bhave, they became members of Sabarmati Ashram and taught at Rashtriya Shala of Sabarmati. They were the two important teachers who were teaching at this Rashtriya Shala. Okay, so this is important. Vinoda Bhave is important for one other thing. Tell me what he is famous for in the comment section below. Okay, he was some movement's first person. Okay, I'm giving you a hint. Now see there, what is a relevance of Gandhiji's education system in present time? So there are two things that we can relate to, that is Anand Niketan. A Nai Talim school was restarted in July 2005 at Sevagram. It was restarted in 2005. Okay, with the firm belief that Gandhiji's idea on education are as relevant today as they were 75 years ago. Anand Niketan aimed towards holistic development of a child covering the three H's: head, heart, and hand. Okay, now see, if you remember 2 years back there was new education policy which was introduced that was also linked to Gandhiji's Nai Talim. Okay, the notable changes in the school education under the new education policy 2020 resonate with none other than Mahatma Gandhi's idea of education, be it eliminating distinction between academic and vocational streams, or encouraging multilingualism, or providing flexibility to students to opt for courses as per their choice, or efforts to encourage participation of local community. These are all the parameters which were given by Gandhiji in Nai Talim, and they are all being reintroduced in our new education policy 2020. So this is important. With this, we have covered this video. I hope you liked it and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.